Recently, I played 6 hours of Elden Ring Nightreign, and
This guy has
we were
Nightreign
locked
on his
in for that
PC?
entire time. This game is addictive,
Dude!
it's intense,
I want to
it's way
play this.
faster paced than I expected,
Dude,
and
let me
I
play the
think it's going to be a
game.
hit. So let's
How did
talk
he
about
get
it.
it? How did he
Our
get it, man?
characters have just left the roundtable hold, and day 1 is about to begin. Your goal in Nightreign is to survive each day as a ring of rain closes in around you and your team.
Dude!
Then, at the start of day 3, you'll fight one of 8 major bosses using
Days?
all of the randomized loot and
Like in
buffs
Majora's
that you've
Mask
accumulated
Zelda?
over the course of your run.
How fast are these days
Now,
in real time?
every session you play in Nightreign is supposed to be somewhat unpredictable. You won't always explore the same map, or receive the same loot, or face the same enemies. The one thing, though, that I found very predictable in every single one of my Nightreign sessions was this feeling of pressure. The pressure not just to
shit, there he is,
survive,
baby.
but the pressure to get stronger. Because if you don't get powerful fast, there's no way you'll
What is
defeat the
fast?
final boss.
Stop being so
You can
fucking
kind of see that
cryptic.
pressure in action here.
How long is
These
one
characters
game?
just
How
rested
long?
at a grace and leveled up and ran because the rain is coming and you don't have much time. In our
GG,
playthrough
baby.
session, we would have to make these split-second decisions about where to go and what to do, and most importantly, whether we had the time to do it.
Sure.
So often it was a choice between defeating a boss and claiming its loot, or running away and living to fight another day. So many subtle
Painful.
changes have been made to the mechanics of Elden Ring as well, and all of these
It looks
changes
so
have been
good,
made
though.
in the name of speed and efficiency. For example, you can now vault easily over objects and even enemies as well to get where you need to go.
That's
Gone are the days
sick.
where
Free running
you
in
need
fucking Elden
torrent
Ring. Let's
to
go.
traverse the map. Now you can
Pretty
press
good.
L3 to activate a powerful sprint, and you can also activate Spirit Springs on foot, which vault you so high up into the air.
Damn.
Also, there's no fall damage in Nightreign, so from high places it's easy to justify jumping down and getting to where you need to be.
No
Let's
fall
talk
damage.
about the different classes,
I don't like
the different
that. I want the
Nightfarers that you
players.
can choose to play.
I want the players of the game actually to respect the world around them, because then the world feels way bigger. That's why classic WoW, the game I'm playing right now on screen, is so good after fucking 25 years or 20 years. Because the world is so big, it's really hard to traverse this world. And every mountain you see is like a big object. Every fucking river or cliff you see is a big object. And it forces you to explore it deeply. I don't like this, man. I don't like it when you can fly. I don't like it when you don't take any fall damage. Just trek through the land, man.
In this game. This is the Recluse, a mage character that,
Okay.
like other characters, has an ability and an ultimate that you can use.
All right.
They've turned the HUD off for the footage that they've given us, but I remember what these abilities and skills looked like, so I've drawn them, and this is where they are usually on screen. Your activated ability is on the left, and your ultimate is on the right. Both of these circles fill up over time, and when they're full, that's when you can use the ability or the ultimate. Now,
Alright.
the Recluse has an ability that is actually much more complicated than the other characters' abilities, and I think they designed it this way because the Recluse is designed to be a backline character. In Nightreign, the spells you cast are tied to the weapons you pick up, so you usually only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 spells on hand, so From Software has given mages another system to sort of micromanage while they're standing in the backline casting spells. Let me
Okay.
explain really quickly how it works.
Sure.
Basically, whenever an enemy or a teammate gets tagged by a certain type of damage, like fire or magic or holy, a little marker will appear on them, and then the Recluse can absorb that type of energy, getting a little bit of mana, but more importantly, filling out one of these small orbs. Then,
Okay.
when you've acquired 3 elements, you can unleash the Recluse's ability.
Damn,
generating a unique spell based on the combination of elements you've acquired.
that's fucking sick and also super complex that forces you to respect the game and be good at the game, and you get rewarded for it doing a crazy ultimate. I like the skill cap is high. I like that a lot. That's pretty fucking good, man.
So, a huge part of this character's skill expression is going to be understanding intuitively
Yep,
what these different combinations of spell are and
yep,
whether you're in the right position to
yep.
cast them.
That's
And
sick.
this is just this
That's actually
character's
sick.
ability. They obviously have an ultimate as well, and this one is more straightforward. Basically, after a short delay, you can mark nearby enemies with this red tag, and once marked, if anyone on your team hits them, they will regain health and mana, which is incredible for the sustained health of your party. Now, when you cast an ultimate from any character, your character actually becomes
Oh fuck.
invincible while they're casting it, which in the
Okay.
case of the Recluse is especially handy, as you can see in this footage
Power
where they
armor.
use it to sort of mitigate all of the aggro that they're receiving. Okay, so the Recluse is the most complicated character to explain. They also even have a passive ability, just like the other characters do, but I don't really know what the Recluse's does. I think it regenerates mana somehow. Anyway, let's talk about the next character, Wilder, who is very much a jack of all trades. Wilder's hookshot ability is on a very short cooldown, and you'll find
Okay.
yourself using
Short
it a
cooldown.
lot. On small
Damn.
enemies, it pulls them towards you,
Damn.
and on larger enemies, it pulls you towards
Towards
them.
them.
One thing worth noting is it's easy to chain the hookshot into different attacks, like you can see here. The hookshot can also be aimed manually, hitting the terrain and launching
Damn.
forward. Now, Wilder's
That's my
ultimate
guy, I
also
think.
uses his left arm. The grappling hook opens up
Can you choose
for
your
an
characters,
explosive
or is it like
blast.
randomized?
This blast can be charged, it can be comboed with your running animation and the hookshot animation, and it stuns enemies. In this case, it actually staggered the enemy, allowing for a critical hit, but on every single enemy and boss I used it against, it also stunned them for a short amount of time,
Okay,
which was
okay.
this unique animation that allowed my teammates to sort of get a moment to breathe or do extra damage. Wilder's passive ability is a one-time use effect that allows him to completely negate any instant of damage that would have killed
Bam.
him. You might have
Bam.
just seen it activate there. Basically, Wilder does this brief moment of inspired acrobatics and gets a second chance instead of being downed. Next, let's talk about the Guardian. So the
Guardian.
Guardian's passive ability is this shield stance, I'm pretty sure, which increases your guarding capabilities at the expense of your movement. Their
Okay.
ability is this whirlwind attack, which
Sure.
seems to get rid of environmental effects like the Death Blight here, but moreover, its main function is to interrupt enemies, so that your teammates can get some damage in. In this
I
way, the
like this guy
Guardian is a
already.
really strong melee support character, acting
It's
as
a
a
nice
tank,
tank. It's a nice
but
tank.
also as a tank sort of support for other characters around you.
Yeah,
Their
that's a
ultimate
tank.
too is very team-based, with this aerial
Okay.
dive bomb that is excellent for
Typical tank
reviving
ability.
your teammates, because remember,
Typical
you have
tank
to
ability.
attack your teammates to revive them.
J4,
This has a secondary
Leona,
effect,
everything.
I'm pretty
Typical,
sure,
typical.
of fortifying the teammates that are near the area of effect, giving them increased poise for a short time.
Sure, sure.
I make
sure,
it sound
sure.
like the Guardian is purely a support character, but
Yes.
that dive bomb will be excellent for clearing groups of small enemies as well, and accumulating runes from killing enemies and strengthening all of your characters and leveling up is a huge part of the game, so that kind of group clearing is a really good offensive capability as well.
Okay. Sick.
And speaking of offensive capabilities, this is the Duchess, who was the character that I
Duchess?
played the most in this demo. Her passive is this
DPS?
sidestep dodge that's similar to the Bloodborne dodge, making her very well suited for anyone who prefers a more aggressive playstyle. Her ability recharges extremely fast, like you can use it every 10 seconds or so, and
Nice,
it's
nice.
a sort of stopwatch themed ability which takes into account the last few seconds of damage that that enemy has taken and duplicates it. This effect is shown by a white spirit that appears and sort of shows the damage that is being duplicated. Because you're so aggressive, the Duchess naturally gets a lot of aggro, but this is offset by her dodge, but also by her ultimate, which is a cloaking spell that cloaks you and your nearby allies, making you way less likely to get aggro and just enabling a few different things within the context of the
That's
game.
the fucking
For
road,
example,
baby.
you can use it before a fight to get the jump on enemies, you can use it in the middle of the fight to disengage from enemies, or something that's especially good is using it to safely resurrect your teammates
Wait,
once
what?
they get downed. So, when you die in this game, you fall to the ground,
What a
you
weird
crawl
character.
extremely slowly, and a little circle appears above your head. This little circle is basically like a health bar that your teammates have to attack and deplete in order to resurrect you. The first time you're downed, you only have one of these purple bars, the second time you have two, and the third time you have three, meaning that every subsequent time you die, it's more risky for your teammates to try and resurrect you because they have to stand there hitting you while avoiding aggro for quite a long time. And
Alright.
with some of these bosses, avoiding aggro is not easy. These bosses will often be a 3-part fight where you just have them on you the entire time. So resurrecting your teammates is definitely a tricky thing to pull off sometimes. It's also something that takes the damage you deal into account. So the more damage you do, the faster you'll resurrect your teammates, and so
What?
now
So
I think we
weird.
should talk about how to make your character stronger, how to make you do more damage and
Please do,
take more
please do.
damage and survive.
Please do.
Okay, so the footage they gave us is really quite good. It does a good job of showcasing things that are important to the game. But
Sure.
RP walking like this is not one of them. If you did this in game, your teammates will
it's over.
scream at you like,
Yeah.
you don't have time to do this kind of
It's
thing.
just
You
like
are
League of Legends.
evaluating.
I feel this is like a mix between Fortnite and League of Legends. You do not have time. If you waste 5 seconds when it comes down to farming your creeps, your power levels, you have been destroyed. Because at the other side, the bosses will get stronger, the map will get smaller, other people will get stronger. I like this a lot,
Weapons
man.
and items and stats as fast
Constantly
as
on
you
your
can
toes. You're
because you also
constantly
have to
on your
think about
toes,
where to
man.
go next, and yeah, it's just crazy.
It's a
So
speed game.
a
It's
big
real
part
good.
of
It's
skill
real good.
expression is
It's real
being
good.
able to look at a weapon and saying, okay, this suits my build, okay, I'm going to work towards this, or I'm going to leave this one behind, or I'm going to give this one to a teammate, that sort of thing. And a part of what makes this so much simpler than Elden Ring, but also so much more complex, is that yes, weapons have been simplified in the sense that they have one number associated with
mine,
the
baby.
damage they do, and it's quite clear if they inflict a status effect like Scarlet Rot. It's obvious if you've played the base game which skill is tied to the weapon, but what makes this so much more complex is that every single piece of equipment now comes with passive buffs that affect your character even if the weapon isn't actually in your hand. So
Nice.
you have 6 weapon slots in this
That's
game,
good. That's good.
and you want to fill every single one of them because every weapon will confer a different passive buff that will affect the main weapon that you have in your hand. So say, for example, these 3 armaments drop for you. Which
Sure.
ones would you take with you? If you're playing a melee character, the tree spear might be great because it actually has a really good charge attack
like charge
and
attacks,
it
though.
increase the damage that charge attacks
Lightning.
do. So you
I
might
don't know.
want to
Lightning,
base your
lightning,
build more
charge.
around a charge attack playstyle.
Charge
Or if
is
you have
good.
the Duchess on your team, you might want to grab the bleed weapon because bleed seems to synergize really well with the stopwatch ability that duplicates damage. Being able to spot these synergies in an instant and try to make your build on the fly was a really big part of what made this game so fun to me. You should also be evaluating consumables because you can
Okay.
only carry 4 stacks of any one consumable at any one time, and consumables are really good now. Firebombs are now handheld nukes that can be thrown in midair, and weapon buffs can be applied to any weapon,
cool,
and they're
crazy.
powerful, so bear that in mind. Another thing that's really important is, ideally, you'll have someone on your team who's really good at quickly evaluating where it will be best to go next. There are a lot of important landmarks in this game, and many of them will be recognizable across multiple sessions. For example, you see that black rise off to the right there? So, if you solve the puzzle and make your way to the top, you'll get a choice of 3 armaments and or buffs to
I
choose
don't
from,
like this
which
flying shit,
usually is a
bro.
reward that's exclusive to when you kill bosses in this game. So basically every landmark has a boss within it, but some
Look how beautiful the lay of the land is. But you completely disrespect and ignore everything by flying, bro. Like, I get it. If you like fly at the beginning, just like in Fortnite, you just drop out of the sky into the land. You know what I mean? Just like with what's the Fortnite COD version again? I don't remember. You know, you start in the air, you stick pick a spot, and from there on you fight hard. You know, but I don't like this being in the middle of the game, bro. It's so bad. It's
have
so bad.
interesting things as well, like we're
Super
currently
bad.
diving down to Kenneth Heights Castle, which showed up a few times for us in our run, and inside this room there was a map on the table, and when you interact with the map, it actually reveals points of interest that usually wouldn't be marked on the map. For example, the locations of these silver scarab beetles would show up, and whenever we defeated one of these, a talisman would drop. Each character has 2 talisman slots, and being able to
Oh
loot a
wow.
talisman usually was a really big power spike for one member of our team. And I don't have footage of it, but Kenneth Heights map also revealed the location of
I might be
merchants
dead
on the
here.
map,
No
and
way, I'm dead,
these
right?
merchants were always next to a smithing table, and they always sold one type of smithing stone, which would have
Am I
allowed you
dead?
to level up your weapon.
Die, motherfucker.
This is probably a really important
Shoosh, I
mechanic
gotta
to
run away
interact
here.
with if you find a merchant, because weapons
Shoosh.
have
That was
different
close.
rarities as well, which is something I
Okay.
should have mentioned. There's a common level 1 rarity, there's a rare blue level 3 rarity, there's an epic purple level 9 rarity,
Sure.
and we only found 2 of these, but there is a legendary rarity as well that requires you to be level 12 to equip it. I'll admit there were runs where I was like, ah man, we didn't get any good loot that run, like we didn't find that many epics or legendaries, and that could be a bit frustrating. However, I suspect that the merchants and their smithing tables will be a way to consistently upgrade a weapon that might
Oh
be
fuck,
common, but it
elite
might have a
detective.
really good buff that you want, and so I
Oh, he's not
think
here. Okay.
upgrading weapons could be a way to sort of smooth out the randomness of the game. At the end of every day, you face a major boss. So there were 4 different types we could face in this demo, and they were all very difficult, especially the ones that split into multiple versions of themselves or had multiple ads that you had to deal with, because that required everyone in your team to fulfill a role, and the strategy you use against these bosses will play a huge part in your success.
Right.
For example, we had someone on our team who was not as familiar with Elden Ring, so they ended up taking on a tanking role where they kind of held up their shield and tried their best to keep aggro rather than dealing damage, and they did a great job of that. That worked really well because they could do something like distract the demi-human queen all by themselves, while me and a more competent player were able to DPS this demi-human swordsman down and then go back and help the tank with the one they were aggroing. There were strategies for every boss like this, and I really enjoyed coming up with ways to defeat these bosses on the fly and accounting for things that went wrong within the fight.
I really hope the devs change it up constantly. I don't want there to be one fucking meta after a week how to kill all these bosses. I want them to have some kind of randomizer, some kind of skill, some kind of affixes, just like in fucking WoW retail, but like worse, so that you don't really know what's coming every time. So you have to get your eyes fucking peeled to the fucking screen when you kill these bosses every time. That would be fucking sick. So it feels like you're PvPing against a real player, right?
So what you're seeing here is the end of day 1, where they've
Okay,
defeated the major boss, and
sure.
now they get to claim a reward. Like many rewards in this game, it's a choice between 3 different options.
Okay,
Sometimes it was a choice between permanent effects and buffs for your character,
sure.
sometimes weapons, sometimes both, and again you have to make a really split-second decision on what is best for you
Sure.
and your team. And then at the end of the day, the night rain recedes, and you can go out and explore again. But bear in mind, I'm pretty sure everything you killed on day 1 stays dead on day 2, so it was important to keep progressing around the
So how
map
long
and
are these
finding
days? I don't
new
understand.
places to explore.
In real time. Okay, so day 2
Eventually,
begins.
everything culminates in this, your final fight against the chosen Night Lord that you set
Okay.
out to face when you left the Round Table Hold. In this case, our final boss was called Tricephalus, a
Okay.
three-headed hound that periodically would split into 3 parts, one for each member of your group.
Sure.
It's in this boss fight and boss fights like this that you realize Nightreign really was designed for 3 people. Yes, they probably could have designed enemies so that they scaled with the amount of people in your party, but there's something to be said for not compromising
Fuck,
on
I
your
need to
boss
run away here.
design around that fact. You know, these bosses feel like they were designed to be taken on with 3 people, and everyone in your party is supposed to have a different role in these fights as a result. So, that's Nightreign. I mean, I could go on about all the different little
Nice,
things I've
nice.
discovered, but I don't have footage for it right now,
Fuck.
so I think I'll
Game
just
looks
give you my thoughts on
beautiful.
the game. Obviously, somewhat biased. I run a From Software YouTube channel. You have to take what I say with a grain of salt, but I really did have so much fun playing this. In
It
retrospect, I was a
objectively
bit
looks
wrong.
amazing, man. Just to see like the world of Elden Ring that is normally like super slow and tedious be transformed in like a fast-paced game with the same vibes, but with the same RPG elements, just coming in quicker, faster upgrade, just like League of Legends wise compared to WoW in that day. It was just a really fast-paced MMO in where you leveled up from 1 till 18 over and over again. I think this is good, man.
About my
This is really good.
analysis of the game previously, because
Really,
previously a
really good.
big point I mentioned was that, you know, Nightreign will allow you to get immersed in this ever-changing world and
Sure.
take in the scenery and just enjoy like a first playthrough of Elden Ring again. This isn't that. Like, you don't have time to appreciate this world sometimes. Instead, that feeling is replaced with this rush to explore and get stronger and overcome difficulty. And when your build comes together just right and that allows you to kill even more bosses even faster and get even stronger, it's a great feeling. And over the course of our play session, you know, we finally had one run where everything came together
Show us.
perfectly.
Show
We
us.
got the items we wanted,
All
we
right.
managed to execute our
Just like in
strategies
Hearthstone
perfectly,
Battlegrounds,
and
baby.
we finally faced off against the final boss and managed to take it down.
All right.
If you have a friend or two who are into Elden Ring as well, and you think you can all team up and take on this game together, I think it's going to be like one of the best co-op
So
experiences you've ever
sad. It's
had.
so sad he doesn't have the gameplay. I think he's not allowed. I think they gave him like these nice images to talk over and all that stuff, but it sounds good, man. It sounds good. Yes, what he says, he's in cahoots with From Software. Obviously, he's a big content creator who gets paid to talk positively about the game. But I'm truly fucking excited about this shit, man. I'm an Elden Ring fan. Play them all, played other games that are like this, Fortnite, roguelike, Rusts, anything, man. This is a good mix of all. This is a really good mix.
My main concerns with this game come from the fact that, you know, if you don't have someone else to play this with, will this game still be great
I don't
played
give a
with
fuck,
randoms
man. I
or
play
played by
MMOs
yourself?
by my fucking
I'm not
self, and
as
I have the
sure
best
of
time
that,
in the world,
and I
bro.
think come the network test in a couple of days, people aren't going to have that many friends to play with who also got into
It's
the network
always like
test,
that.
and so I
Always
think
like that.
some of the feedback might be more negative because of that. But as it
Maybe,
stands,
maybe.
everyone I know had a blast playing this
Sure.
together, especially side by side in the same room with other people. It was just an unforgettable experience. The other thing I'm curious about is when the full game releases, how random will the maps be? In this demo build of the game,
It has
again,
to
we
be
could only
random as
play
fuck.
one of 2 maps, but we've kind of been led to believe that maps will be somewhat procedurally generated and
Oh
that
man, that's
they'll
so good.
stitch together different zones.
Yep, that
And
would be
yeah, the
sick.
demo had
Sick.
2 maps seemingly that you could explore, and over the course of our session and over the course of the network test, when people play this, they're going to start figuring out these maps and understanding the best route through, and it will become familiar to them, which I don't think is the intended experience for Nightreign. I suspect in the full game, and I hope in the full game, maps are really, really randomized, and no 2 playthroughs are the same, so that's definitely
Well,
something I'm going to be
that's
looking for
why.
in the
Oh
full
fuck!
release. Anyway, I
Defender's
hope this
coming.
video helped you understand more about the game.
Level
I'll be
14
playing the
Vector
network
shouldn't be
test
that hard.
and recording our experiences, and I might make a video on that as well, so subscribe,
Sick
stay tuned.
video, man.
Thank you to Bandai
Sheesh.
for
This
flying me
this
out and giving me this experience, and thank you for watching.
this shit came out of nowhere. I had no idea this guy. I didn't even know who this guy was. Subscribe. This is some good shit, man. Damn, son. Real good. Real good. Real good. I'm super excited. I can't wait, man. I just can't. That's all I can say about this. Can't fucking wait.